Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. But Dawn is not here, but a lot of fog is here. I thought by this time, February, however you say that word, it's spelled February, but I don't think people say it that way. I just say February. But anyway, anyhow, I thought by this time of the year it would be starting to be daylight at 5:40 a.m. Central Standard Time, but it has not occurred. Anyway, I have two 80 proof, 40% alcohol, non age stated blended whiskeys, and they're both odd. I want to update my Heaven Hill Kentucky Gold notes. And I'll explain what DSS means. It's a strange thing. Okay, this is Calvert Extra. Black, maroon, white, and gold label. I found this bottle and it was covered with grime. It was terrible looking. I found it at a place called International Market, and that was right when they finished renovating the whole store. I mean, they moved all the shelves around, they put all new flooring in, exterior, interior. I mean, they did a great job. Those people must have a lot of money because they own an entire shopping center, basically the block. They own International Market, a huge international grocery store. They own a huge place called International Wholesale Club, which is even bigger, but you got to have a membership to go in there. Okay, so you have to. It's kind of like Sam's Club, but it's independent. I wanted to go look around one day, and they said, "No, you can't even come in if you don't have a membership." Well, okay, I didn't get upset. I left. But that's big. They sell hats and clothes and liquor and food and everything else. All right, and they also have international shopping centers, like two-story with like a karate studio, hair salon, like a tax place, tax preparation place. So it's big, big. And I've talked to a lot of people around here, and they know about it. A lot of people never heard of International Market, but a lot of other people say, "Oh yeah, I definitely know that place. Go there and get exotic food and things like that." And then there's also on the same side of Veterans Boulevard in Metairie, Louisiana. Go a couple of miles, about 2 miles east. There's Golden City Market, another smaller but well stocked Oriental store, and I go in there and I don't even know what I'm looking at. Like they have products that is all in it's not in English, and I don't know what I'm looking at. But it's amazing. They're amazing. And then there's a place on the west bank of the river called Hong Kong Market, which is also enormous and amazing. But anyway, and there was a few other smaller ones around. Anyway, this was there, and I think it was a bottle that had fallen and rolled under the shelves and stayed there for years. And the workers who were renovating lifted it up and stuck it on the shelf and never fooled with it. Because I brought it to the counter and I said, "Is this even in the system or what?" And if the price was high, I wasn't going to buy it. So the lady rang it up and it came up $8. I think it was $7.99 or $8.99 or something like that. So I figured, yeah, I'll buy it. And I did research on it. This was one of the brands that Seagram sold to Jim Beam Company, James Beam Distilling Company in 1994. Okay, Seagram's, if you read their history, and you can get some bad information too, which I was working under for a while, that the company was going bankrupt and all that. That wasn't true. Blended with the finest whiskeys. Well, I don't know about that for $8.99, but you know how these labels are, they're kind of comical. But anyway, the owners of Seagram's, which was not even the Seagram's family had sold out in the 1920s, actually. They had invested money in other businesses like chemical refining, And then they got really interested in music, media, and they transitioned into that, which is what they're totally into now. That family is invested in like streaming media. You know, they have streaming media today and all that, so they probably making a lot of money off that. Okay, most of it invested in France, but they slowly started selling off their assets over about 11-year period, 89 to 2000. The first big batch of brands they sold to the Sazerac company, Canadian Hunter. Uh, they sold a bunch of stuff to. They also Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball, which was never a good seller. The Sazerac reformulated it and rebranded it. Well, maybe not. Excuse me. Maybe not reformulated it, but they rebranded it as just Fireball. And you know how popular that is today. You even have the single barrel Fireball today. Uh, and they still make Canadian Hunter. I found at international market, I found old bottles called Seagram's Canadian Hunter. All right. But anyway, and that was changed. It seemed to have been. But anyway, they sold another batch of stuff to Heaven Hill. And if you go on the Heaven Hill website, they give a timeline telling when they bought it. I can't remember the year. A bunch of stuff that they own today. In 94, they a bunch of stuff to, like I said, now Beam ended up selling this to Luxco in 2015, all the assets to Calvert. I don't know. These companies do that, sell different things. So from 1994 till about 2015, Calvert was a Beam brand. So, like I say, get rid of it. This was a version which was 100% whiskey blend. In other words, there's no grain neutral spirits in it. It's all aged whiskey, at least 4 years old, because there's no age statement. So it all has to be at least 4 years old. It does not claim that it's made in Kentucky. It says American blended whiskey, and it says blended and bottled in Kentucky. So I'm thinking they did just like Sazerac did with Seagram's, saying, we'll buy the brands, but Seagram's is going to continue to produce it under a production agreement for so many years. So they were probably getting this from MGP, Midwest Grain Products. Today it's called MGP. Back then it was called the Seagram's Distillery. And in fact, if you go there, it's still called the Seagram's Distillery on the side of the buildings because they had it painted all over these brick buildings, and I guess it was too expensive to take it down. And they kept it up there for historical reasons. So this is probably where it's coming from, and that's probably where the modern Calvert is still coming from today. And a whole lot of other stuff, like Seagram's vodka is made right there at the old Seagram's plant. Okay, so that's the story on that one. Do they still make this 100% whiskey blend? It's hard to say. It's hard to say because Luxco, who's owned by MGP for the last 5 years, they produce all kind of Calvert stuff. Like it's just nearly impossible to track. The one I tried at John and Nile's house back when he was still living in Georgia was a 70-30 blend, 70% grain neutral spirits, 30% straight whiskey. And it was pretty good. We liked it, for what it was. All right, but this is maybe discontinued. And they do still have this label on the website, but it seems like it's a little modified. Maybe, you heard I said maybe discontinued. Well, I took this thing home and I used warm water and soap and I cleaned it all up and I made it look nice. I think if you'd have seen the condition of the bottle, you wouldn't have bought it. But I knew it was sealed, so it would be safe. Oh man, it looked bad. Now here I bought it international market also, but that was just a few weeks ago. They had it for $1.99 for a half-size bottle. $1.99. I should have bought two. Two halves make a whole. But I was like, nah, I'll just try it. I could see it had changed. It had changed from the original Kentucky Gold. Now, Kentucky Gold goes back to 1956. It was started by a company called Sina, Sina, Sina. But they sold it to Heaven Hill at some point. I don't know. 1992. That's what it was. Oh, yeah. I don't even think they sold it. I think Sina went out of business. It appears that way. Because if you read the trademark data, it says that the trademark expired. Like it wasn't used, but it was like defunct. And I think all Heaven Hill did was just wait till it went defunct, and then they registered it and brought it under their control, which is fine because the other company doesn't exist, so they can't say they're stealing it. But this is what we call a DSS, a distilled spirit specialty. It's not a true whiskey. Yeah, it's made with whiskey. It's 80 proof, so it qualifies, has enough alcohol to qualify. Whiskey has to be at least 80 proof in the United States. There's no age statement, so it's at least 4 years, no problem there. But I think that what makes it a distilled spirit specialty is that it probably uses flavoring above the allowed limit. If you read, you're allowed to add flavoring to blended whiskey. This might have flavoring in it. You're allowed to add caramel coloring, no problem. But if you read the regulations, it says that natural flavors are NTE 2.5%. In other words, not to exceed 2.5% of the volume. If you go above that, then it's illegal, unless you register it as a distilled spirit specialty, which is a catch-all category for anything liquor that doesn't comply with anything else. So a lot of companies put this stuff out, and it's allowed because technically it ain't anything but a product. Okay, FD Retro says, great comparison. Calvert Extra, Smooth, and Kentucky Gold's Classic Bite. Which one wins for sippability? Also best for mixing? I would say these are definitely mixers, but I'm not doing that. Calvert was never a premium brand. It was a struggling independent company that people said their whiskey was in the people. Let me turn this off till I pour. People said it was bad. This is what I read, that it was nasty. And the company was like basically out of business. Had a small distillery that didn't do much. So Seagram swooped in and bought it out. Right, not long after it started, maybe 3 years. Probably sold the property, but they did kind of make a competitive product at its price level, meaning low. And they had ads for it, advertisements, magazine for Calvert Extra, and some people bought it. Wasn't exactly regarded as anything special. But then, like I said, they lost interest in liquor in general, not this in particular, but just liquor in general. So that's why it was sold off. Okay. They're both amber, but the Calvert is darker. So they might be using a higher charred, most likely used barrels, but still, they may have had higher char. This one's pretty light, even though it had caramel color, it's very light. But if they weren't adding caramel color, it would probably be almost like pale straw, almost clear. And that's how these whiskeys will look if you don't add the color in, which doesn't bother me. I got that Ardbeg 10, and it says natural color. That's the palest whiskey I've got. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay. So the ironic thing is a distilled spirit specialty, which is not technically not a true whiskey. I mean, in a practical sense, it is, but technically, no. It'll tell you that it has caramel color in if they add it or flavor. It has to say it. Read the regulation. The disclosure is required. All right, they got to explain what it is. Nope. Registered as a distilled spirit specialty. That's not an issue. The issue is you have to put the label what it is, and they do. It says blended whiskey with natural flavors and caramel color. Specific. If you get one of their vodkas, it'll say vodka with natural flavors. You say that's not a true vodka. It's got flavor. I know it's not a true vodka. They don't claim it is. They claim it's a vodka with natural flavor. Okay. On the other hand, this is the second part of the thing. If it's a true American blended whiskey, it does not have to disclose whether it has flavoring or coloring added. So then it remains a mystery. Now they're allowed to disclose it if they feel like it. They can say it. Yeah, it's got coloring and flavoring added. Sazerac usually will tell you. Other companies won't and do not. You say, what about Crown Royal? Does it have flavoring added? Doesn't say on the label. Guess what? It's not required to say. Does it have caramel coloring added? Don't know. Doesn't say. Not required to say. So see, The true whiskeys may be more of a mystery than the not true ones. You know what I mean? Oh, it's so funny to read all these regulations, but you can learn a lot. It's sort of like going to school, and I like to learn things. Okay, now I had somebody, this guy right here. I'm not going to name him, because I don't have hard feelings against him or anything like that. I just think he's strange. But he says to me, "Oh, Seagram's, that's not a true whiskey." You know why? Because it's black. I said, okay. I didn't have time to entertain people like that. Say it's not a true whiskey. It's wildly ridiculous. This smells like basically nothing. I'm gonna be honest. There's a little fermentation on it. You get that. You can tell it's like a liquor, but it doesn't smell like much. So aroma negligible, but nothing off of that. There's just nothing there. Same thing here. You get a little oak. That's all I'm getting. And it's not that my nose is messed up. I can smell other things. I had two waffles this morning. I could smell them. I could smell the syrup. I could smell the butter. Clear, clear, clear. Uh, Now, where I stand right now is 2 wins, 2 losses in these challenges. Got it right twice, got it wrong twice. What does that mean? I'm bad at tasting a blended whiskey. I don't believe so. It means that this Kentucky Gold tastes like more or less everything else that's cheap on the shelf. Just what I've noticed. Now, some of Heaven Hill's products will be weird, and I think off. And you can tell them from other things, but that's not a good sign because they're like improper. Like the flavor's like, ooh, right, ooh, woof. But this one's not like that. It's just regular. It's like, what is the flavoring added? I don't know, but I would put money if I was a bettor. I don't gamble, but if I was a gambler, I'd put money on the vanilla. I get this impression that they're adding vanilla. They're not going to tell you though. You could call them. They might give you their grain bill, but those kind of things, they're crazy people. But I mean, we all know what vanilla tastes like. If it's tasting like vanilla, then that's probably what it is. But I'll say that for sure. Okay, any off flavors or aromas with these? The body's medium and the finish is dry. So it's mostly dry. So it's a typical American blended whiskey. They're so typical, like their flavor is so similar to the board. And you can't say something like, "Oh, yeah, nobody drinks that stuff." Oh, really? Why is it on the shelf? Why do the stores keep stocking it and order new cases of it? Because nobody buys it. That's why they buy it. That's why they ordering it because nobody buys it. No, you may not buy it, and I don't really buy it. I just get them for taste now. Just kind of interesting, to look at the brand and the history. But to say blanket statement, nobody buys it is a joke. It's silly. It's a silly statement to make. If it doesn't sell, it ain't getting stocked. It's going to get closed out. And I mean, go to any liquor store in America, they're going to have Seagram 7 Crown, called 7 Crown. People call it Seagram 7 on every store, in every liquor store, in other blended products. But mainly that Seagram 7 will always be on the liquor store, but nobody buys it. Okay. I think I know what this is. I'm picking up something. Let me see over here, though. I shouldn't pick it up over here. Yeah, I'm not. I'm getting more oak. This is the Calvert. The Calvert is giving me some charred oak. This is giving me some corn flour or corn milk, which is, I'm thinking, the grain neutral spirit, which is almost assuredly corn liquor, unaged, corn distillate. You know what I mean? Ethanol, basically. Not a bad flavor, but not much of a flavor. don't see too many people saying, "Oh, corn flour, I love the flavor of corn flour, cornmeal." I mean, it's just a commodity product, right? So I'm going to say Kentucky Gold loses to Calvert. I got it right. So that little clue, I'm going to have to think about that clue, but that won't help me because the rest of the blended whiskeys I have are not 100% pure like this. They're cut with grain spirits, which is allowed. I didn't make the law. I didn't make the regulation. It's allowed, whether we like it or not. That's the law. In Canada, yeah, they use grain neutral spirits, but it has to be aged 3 years. And after it's what now it's whiskey. We're not in Canada yet. Canada's not part of the U.S. yet, and probably never will be. So, yeah. All right. So the winner, Calvert, and the price is a little. You might pay $3 more for a bottle of Calvert, and it's probably worth it. So here's to Calvert, and I don't know what the current status is. That's a mystery in a sense today. All right. Thank you, and y'all have a great Saturday. Bye bye.